ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football. Did we get a score? Yeah, the Chargers scored some points. 3 cheers for the Chargers. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Chargers are on the board. Welcome to Thursday Night Ass Whooping Overtime. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. AFC West family business, and sometimes you're left speechless when you watch football games. I only have one word for this game. Damn. You know that meme with Kevin Hart where he's sitting there and he goes, damn. That's kind of how I feel about this game. Chargers are currently losing a gazillion to 7 versus the Vegas Raiders on a Thursday night. And I'm always hesitant to start these streams early. It's got to be really bad for me to start a stream before the game's done, or at least in its, latter stages. We're barely past halftime here, and there's no reason to wait. This thing was 42-0 at halftime. It's rare that you see an ass whooping quite like the one we're witnessing right now. And it's not like the Raiders are like that. Remember, the Raiders got shut out last week. They didn't score a single point last week, and they scored 42 in the first half against the Chargers this week. The NFL is a crazy place. But the Chargers are a different breed right now. And I tried to tell Washington fans this because they think we're the worst football team in the league. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. And I said, hey, I'm telling you right now, the Chargers are pretty damn bad, and they're not going to win another game. Look out for the Chargers. I told the fan base that. I don't think they were listening. I think I might have gotten their attention tonight, though. Now, here's the thing. We got to win a game for them to even come into play. And with their schedule being what it is because of the teams that they have in their division, I take that back. They're probably going to have a pretty lousy strength of schedule, even though the division isn't terrible, but the Raiders are 6-8. The Broncos are 7-6, and the Chiefs are 8-5. They don't have a double-digit win team in their division. Hence, I don't think their strength of schedule is going to be all that brutal. But we'll see what happens. The Chargers are interesting because they're in a similar spot to Washington where I think we could see a cleaning of the entire house. Brandon Staley has been fired. He's just, holding out for the remainder of the season. There's no, again, you'd be making a change for the sake of making a change. If you fire him tomorrow, cool. Okay, great. There's 3 games left. Awesome. But there's really no reason to fire him at this point. Again, unless you want to do something for the sake of doing something. If you want to appease the fan base that's pissed off, knock yourself out. I don't normally drink. First of all, I'm dressed in all black like the Omen on behalf of the Chargers. This one stings because this one brings back bad memories for myself. I've been here many a times. But I don't normally drink during the week. It's a weekend thing for me. But I put together a little concoction for the Chargers tonight, because this is a rough one. These are the kind that we never forget. And these are the ones that actually get names after they're done and over with. You know, they'll name this one remember the blackout game or something to that effect. They'll come up with a name for this ass kicking. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be bad. I just know that when a team quits and they have no fight left, and you see it, and it's brutal to watch. And that's what this is here. It's nothing more than a team that knows their coach, know that their star quarterback is done for the season, know that they're not making the playoffs, know that imminent change is coming. And what do I have left to play for? What are we doing right now? There are a million places, and it's a short week, quick turnaround. There are a million places I'd rather be than playing football on a Thursday night for no reason, with Easton Stick as my quarterback and Brandon Staley as my head coach, neither of which will be here next year, more likely than not. Maybe Easton Stick is back as your backup quarterback. Maybe the new GM, or if there's a new GM, maybe the new head coach. Normally, when you get a new head coach, he brings in a guy from wherever he came from who knows his system as a backup quarterback that can help teach that system to said starter. Easton Stick could be around, but he could not be around next year. I think it's only fitting that we say a prayer for the Chargers fans tonight, because it's going to be a long offseason for them. This is just the start. As a Commanders fan, I take solace in knowing that there are brighter days ahead. Very, very bright days ahead. Now, don't know who my quarterback is going to be. I think I know. I can't be assured of that. I guess the final 4 games will kind of go a long way in determining that answer for me. I like the guy that I already have. Feel really good about him and his future. Don't really know much else, though. But I do know that I have new ownership. I'm going to have a new GM, maybe a new team president on the football side of the operation, brand new head coach, all new staff. Pretty much know that. And I can take solace in knowing that something's going to happen, for better or for worse. It can't get any worse because Daniel Snyder's no longer our owner. So we're feeling good about the offseason. I can't say the same for Chargers fan, and that's why I'm going to ask you guys to bow your heads as we pray to the football gods on behalf of the Chargers fans. Let's bow our heads. Football gods, we come to you humbly today in the name of the Chargers fans. These Chargers fans have been through a lot. You watched tonight's game. They even had a term for losing close games. They called it chargering. Yes, these Chargers fans have endured so much. Hell, even last week, they brought back a couple of legends in Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers. They were retiring Antonio Gates' number, and they embarrassed themselves to no end against the Denver Broncos at home in a snooze fest as they were dominated thoroughly and their quarterback was injured and lost for the season. We've seen them blow 27-point leads in the playoffs. We've seen them lose close game after close game after close game. We've seen their head coach go off in a press conference in which he was questioned about his defensive play calling. None of this has changed the fortunes of their franchise. They've got a really good young quarterback, got some young good pieces surrounding him on both sides of the football, although they could use some more on the offense, but that's another story for another day. And unfortunately, they've got ownership that is as clueless as it gets, not going to change anytime soon, very stubborn, and sometimes very frugal at that. We'll see what they decide to do with their general manager, Tom Telesco, but he's no more than a puppet, standing in there and doing whatever the owner's son says. And whether he's fired or not, the next guy probably won't have any power either. Whatever happens, they'll find themselves a new coach. Probably will be cheap. Let's hope that they spend a little bread on the coach, because if they get the right coach, they can turn this thing around potentially. All I know is Chargers fans deserve better. And we come here today, football gods, to ask you for better for these Chargers fans. The struggle is real. And no one knows that more than Chargers fans. So tonight, we humbly come to you and ask that you give them an opportunity to win and not waste Justin Herbert's prime years with tomfoolery in the front office, poor decisions on the field, and more close losses. Tonight was, to me and to all of us watching, a closing of a chapter of sorts. May this chapter close, but a new one open with a much brighter future for Chargers fans. In the football gods' names we pray. Amen. Amen. Ass whoopings like these don't come along every day. And while we'll see more ass whoopings, we'll see more teams quit at the end of their seasons. We'll see more teams put up big numbers. I don't know if you'll see, understand what we watched tonight. I can't make this stuff up. The Raiders were shut out last week. They scored 42 points in the first half while blanking the Chargers. Do you know how hard it is to do in the NFL? Let alone a team who hadn't scored a single point in 7 quarters prior to their 42-point outburst. We'll see what happens with the Chargers moving forward. I'm a really big Justin Herbert fan. He's really good. And it's situations like the one we're watching tonight that make it hard for anyone to believe in the Chargers or Justin Herbert. And again, he's not playing tonight. He has nothing to do with the ass whooping and the assault that we're watching tonight. It doesn't matter. People don't care. It's just that's the sad truth of the matter. People don't care. They see this outcome, and there'll even be people who don't even know Justin Herbert's out for the season and think he was a part of this ass whooping. And they'll charge this to his account. At the end of the day, the Chargers need help badly. And I think this is the type of game that is going to facilitate change. It was going to happen anyway, but it's definitely happening now. We'll see what happens. This definitely warrants an old tune that we like to sing here on the Louie T Network when these types of affairs take place. Bust out the yellow tape, everybody. Go ahead, stretch it across long and wide. You know what time it is. Let me clear the old pipes. Pop, 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 pop. Think there's been a murder. I can't. I can't think there's been. I think there's been a murder. Oh no! Oh no! Oh man, this is bad. The last time I prayed for a team to the football gods, we lost by 20 points to the winless Bears. The Rams are going to beat us by 60 this weekend. Oh no! Oh no! 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 Oh no! What have I done? Oh my God. Oh my goodness. On a serious note, though, let's move away from the Chargers for a second. Let's focus on the Raiders for a second. I told you my buddy's a Raiders fan, and we had a conversation earlier in the week about his Raiders. He wants a quarterback. Why wouldn't he? He's tired of mediocrity. He's tired of, spinning his wheels in place. Derek Carr is the definition of mediocrity. And he was sick and tired of it. He wanted Derek Carr gone 3 years ago. He wanted Derek Carr gone 2 years ago. And Derek Carr was finally gone last year. Now, or this year rather. And now he's gotten his wish. And now he wants a new quarterback. I told him they're going to win on Thursday. I did not expect it to look like this, but I knew they'd win. It's Easton Stick, guys. It's Easton Stick. Or as I like to call him, Easton Stick. They were going to win tonight. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The crazy thing is they may win another game or two. When it's all said and done, they're going to end up somewhere towards the middle of the first round. They won't be anywhere near the top 10. It'll be more like 14, 13 or 14 is when it's all said and done. And in order to get one of these quarterbacks, you're probably going to have to be somewhere in that 9 to 7 range if you're talking about trading up. Nobody wants to move back to 13. Now, again, the Bears have the 4th overall pick, or they'll have a top 7 pick. Let's say that. Who knows? The Bears might win 2 more games. Who are we kidding? Right? They're playing actual good football right now. We'll see what they do. But whatever happens, they've got a top 10 pick in their back pocket with their own pick. If they decide to trade the Carolina pick, they'll probably end up with a top 10 pick. So they could conceivably trade the number 1 pick and trade out of the top 10 altogether, if they so choose. And to do that, they would have to pick up a haul. I'm talking about your first round pick for the next 2 to 3 years, your second round pick for the next 2 to 3 years, a third and probably a 5th in some one of these drafts as well. If they're willing to do that, then a team like the Raiders, the Falcons, or someone that's looking for a quarterback could come up to number 1 conceivably and get themselves a quarterback. If they decide to trade Justin Fields, Could Vegas be a potential destination for a Justin Fields? Atlanta is another place that I'm thinking is a good landing spot for him. That's where I really want him to go. If they're not going to fire Arthur Smith, I think Arthur Smith could do some really special things with a guy like Justin Fields. That's nor here nor there, though. Aidan O'Connell is the topic of discussion tonight. He's thrown 4 touchdown passes tonight, and there have been games where he's looked damn good. There have been games, like last week, where he's looked not so good. He's a rookie, so you have to take his play with a grain of salt, and you have to acknowledge that there are growing pains that come with a young quarterback. Do you give up on Aidan O'Connell in the pursuit of one of these quarterbacks in this year's draft class? And there are plenty of them. And you could be in the middle of the first round and you can still get yourself a quarterback. It won't be Drake May. More likely than not, Jaden Daniels, because I think he's going to, shoot up draft boards. And obviously it's not going to be Caleb Williams, but Michael Penix will be available more likely than not in the middle of the first round, I think. Bo Nix will definitely be available in the middle of the first round. You can still get yourself a quarterback if you want one bad enough. If you're the Raiders, do you draft said quarterback or do you build around Aidan O'Connell and see what he has? If he sucks ass, the common misconception of a lot of fans is this. Hey, let's just go with the young quarterback. If he sucks ass, we'll be in the same spot next year. We'll be able to draft a quarterback because we'll be terrible. Yeah, not exactly. That's not how this usually works, guys. Or as a wise woman once said, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Generally speaking in this league, unless you're the Carolina Panthers, you're going to win 4 or 5 games. 4 or 5 games could get you a top 5 pick, a top 7 pick, or it could have you just on the outskirts of 7 and somewhere in that 8 to 10 range. You win 6 games, and the likelihood is you're right on the cusp of that top 10, but you're probably on the outside looking in. And it just depends on the season, right? There have been years where, like this year is a great example. After the Panthers, there are no other, like, bottom feeder teams. We thought the Patriots and the Cardinals would be there. I kind of figured once the Cardinals got Kyler Murray healthy, they'd be competitive and they'd win some games because they were very competitive without him. I thought the Patriots were done winning games, but they play in a really bad division. Or they play in a division with the Jets, not a bad division. Let me rephrase that. And I didn't think they would win any more games, but they beat Pittsburgh. And who's to say that they don't win another game or two? I think they have another date with the Jets here before it's all said and done. You could be looking at the Panthers with 1 win, and then the next lowest win total is 4. And that's rare. Normally in a year, if you got a team that bad like the Panthers, there's probably 1 or 2 other teams with 2 or 3 losses or wins rather, and then you get to the rest of the teams. This year, it might go from 1 straight to 4. And if that's the case, you could have 5 losses or 5 wins rather and be in the top 5. I mean, there's only 1 4-win team right now. There are 2 3-win teams, but there's only 1 4-win team right now. Everybody else has 5 or more. So if you're the Raiders, you're going to end up with a pick somewhere probably in the early to mid teens. I'd say the early teens to somewhere between 10 to 13. 10 to 12 or early teens. So we'll call it 10 to 14. I don't see you getting any further down the road than 14. Do you make a selection where you are, take a player at a position of need, and continue to build? Did we just get a defensive touchdown? Hey, 2 minutes Hey, we going for 60 tonight. Hey, the Raiders ain't shit too. They did a trick play up 42-0. They did a trick play from like the 4-yard line. You ain't shit for that. You ain't shit. You stinking dirty ass bastards. Anytime you can lay that shit on thick on a family member, you do it. More power to them. And another question for the Raiders is Antonio Pierce your head coach? I think he is. Even in the losses, they fought and been hyper competitive. They had the Chiefs. They were up 14-0 against the Chiefs and blew that game, obviously. They were right there with the Vikings, obviously. Lost that game 3-0. And they hung in with the Dolphins. Had the football with a chance to tie the game not once, but twice. So I think this is a Raiders team that has an identity with Antonio Pierce. And it'll be interesting to see if their owner, Mark Davis, learned from his first mistake. Rich Bisaccia should have gotten a job. Anytime, and I don't think I've ever in my life, up until Rich Bisaccia did this, have I seen an interim head coach take over in season and lead the team to the playoffs. I don't think I've ever seen that done. I'm not saying it hasn't been done. I just can't remember it ever being done. Interim coaches don't do that. And it wasn't just that he took them to the playoffs. Remember, that was a tumultuous year for the Raiders. You had the whole John Gruden situation. You had them have to release their first-round pick cornerback because he got caught up online with some gang shit and guns and all kinds of stupid shit. You had Henry Ruggs, vehicular manslaughter. And so he goes away. Like, they dealt with so much shit. I think there was 1 or 2 more DUIs mixed in the mix as well. And somehow Rich Bisaccia looked all those dudes in the eyes and said, hey, we can overcome all of this and make the playoffs. And then they went to the playoffs and they gave the eventual AFC champion, Cincinnati Bengals, a run for their money in Cincinnati. Had the ball inside their 20-yard line with a chance to tie the game before Carr was picked off. And he fired him. And he moved on from him, and he hired Josh McDaniels, and it was the worst thing that he had done as the owner of the Raiders. He quickly realized he made a mistake. Good for him. Got rid of him, at 2 o'clock in the morning early this season in like week, 7 or 8, when nobody really saw it coming. Good for him. And I think Antonio Pierce and the acting GM have done a really solid job so far of having this team be competitive. Now the question is, have they done enough? And are you willing to give Aidan O'Connell a shot, or are you not sold? Which I get it. Either way, whatever you decide, whether it's giving Aidan O'Connell another shot or going out and getting a reinforcement behind him in a young quarterback and saying, hey, we still believe in you, but just in case, we're going to spend a 2nd-round pick on a quarterback. Who knows? We'll see what they decide to do. I think the Raiders are in an interesting spot. I think Mark Davis is going to learn from his first mistake, and I think he's going to give this job on a permanent basis to Antonio Pierce. And I think he sees Dan Campbell-like qualities in Antonio Pierce, and I think it's going to benefit this Raiders team. And we'll see what happens with them. I'm an Antonio Pierce fan. I like what he's doing, and the players, most importantly, believe in the message that he's preaching, and I think he has a chance to turn this program around. Believe it or not, there are some talented football players on this Raiders roster, contrary to popular belief. If you're a Chargers fan, there's this. I think there's one of two schools of thought with the Chargers. Either they're not talented or they're super talented. I don't think anybody kind of feels like they're in between. Maybe there are people out there that feel that way. I am of the thought process that they're very talented. Now, I think they can do some more on offense. And they've made mistakes. Like, they drafted Quentin Johnston, and he hasn't been. And I didn't like him at TCU. And you know what? I'm starting to believe TCU receivers are the devil. I'm about to turn into Bobby Boucher's mama. Anytime somebody asks me about a TCU wide receiver, I'm going to look them right in the eyes and say, don't you draft a TCU wide receiver? TCU wide receivers are the devil. I just think about Jalen Reagor. Think about Josh Doxson. I'm looking at Quentin Johnston, and I'm like, I wouldn't have done that. It's early on that young man, and you know, I don't like to be a curmudgeon when it comes to young players. I like to give them the space that they need to breathe, to figure it out, because not all players come into the league and get it just like that. Some guys mature at a much slower rate of speed than others. So I'm going to allow him the time and space that he needs to try to develop. I'm just going to tell you, I don't like what I've seen. But then again, I didn't like what I saw when he was at TCU. Anyway, that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is, they've got talent. They still got Keenan Allen. They still have Mike Williams, even though he's out for the season. And they still have Josh Palmer. They got stuff. And I actually like Darius Davis if they figure out how to utilize him. And he is a TCU wide receiver, believe it or not. But Austin Eckler isn't the Austin Eckler that we've come to know and love. I don't want to pronounce him dead in terms of his career, but he's getting close to that big number that we don't like for running backs. He's getting dangerously close to it, and he's starting to look like it. There's a reason they didn't want to give him that contract that he was asking for, and there's a reason that the Chargers gave him an opportunity to seek a trade, and nobody else came to rescue him. They don't have any other backs that really move the needle. Josh Kelly has been really solid this year, but Joshua Kelly is at best a number 2 back in this league. He's not a number 1. Tight end, I love Gerald Everett. And they got some stuff at that position, Donald Parham and some of the other guys that have come along. So, a young kid out of ODU. They got some stuff at tight end. Offensive line needs a little bit of work, but it's salvageable on that side of the ball. Defensively, they've got talent. Joey Bosa is a guy that's frustrated because he's always hurt. I look at Joey Bosa like the defensive end version of Tyrod Taylor. It's not a matter of if he's going to get hurt. It's when and for how long. Joey Bosa could say, hey, I feel the best I've ever felt in my career. I'm like, cool, that's cool, Joey. When you getting hurt again? He's like, you didn't hear what I just said. I feel the best I've ever felt in my career. I heard you loud and clear, Joey. How many weeks I got? 3 or 4? Talk to me. He's always hurt. But Thule looks good. Their rookie out of USC. Khalil Mack is still going, but for how much longer? So I think there needs to be some work done on that defensive line. Kenneth Walker, a.k.a. K9, I don't think he bites as much as they would like him to. You spend the first-round pick on a guy, you want him to bite quite often if you're going to nickname him K9. That hasn't happened. I don't think they should have ever allowed Kaiser White to leave. But again, I'm crying over spilt milk. he's a damn good football player, and they miss him, and they have missed him. The secondary is interesting. They whiffed on Nasir Adderley. Derwin James is a damn good football player, but I think he's often misused. To me, he's like Hamilton, just like for the Ravens. Dynamic athlete, but you really want him down around the line of scrimmage, underneath zones, coming after the quarterback, being a nuisance around the line of scrimmage. The further Justin Hamilton gets away from the line of scrimmage, the more of a liability he becomes. I feel the same way about Derwin James. We saw him get cooked tonight for a touchdown against Trey. Excuse me, what's the kid's name? The rookie from Cincinnati. Yeah, you guys know who the hell I'm talking about. They're just not using him correctly, I don't think, personally. But he's talented. I like Michael Davis, the corner. I like Asante Samuel Jr. I think there are some very salvageable pieces in that secondary. You add a couple pieces to that defense. I think the most work needs to be done in the front seven, not in the back half. I even think you could probably go get a veteran safety to come in, and like a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be a great addition to this team. It would allow Derwin James to do what he's made to do, which is play closer to the line of scrimmage. Now you got that ball hawking free safety on the back end, and those corners can do the things that they like to do, play press, be aggressive in the part of Michael Davis. On the other side, Asante Samuel can play off a little bit, key quarterback's eyes, and be aggressive and attack the football. But at the end of the day, I think the most work has to be done in the front seven. They need linebacker help. They went out and got the linebacker from the Vikings. He's on his last legs, clearly. Kendricks, right? So you need linebacker help, and I think you got to continue to fortify the defensive line. With Bosa always being hurt, with Khalil Mack probably being gone after this year, because they got to clean up the cap too, right? So a lot of question marks, but it's not as far gone as some people may think. It's very salvageable, but you got to get the right guy in here. And they got to be willing to allow whomever they hire to have some say-so. They can't just hire another puppet. And I don't know if this ownership group, the Spanos, are willing to take a step back, allow real football people to do real football shit and handle their business. If they want to continue to play fantasy football as owners and continue to pull the strings from the owner suite, they're going to continue to wallow in mediocrity. They'll be 7-10, 8-9 every year because Herbert is good enough to get you to 7 wins. But they'll never win anything of note. They won't be relevant. And we'll continue to talk about, hey, this team has a lot of talent. Why aren't they winning? So we'll see what happens. Anyway, has it gotten to 60? Yikes. Zoink, Scoob! I mean, we saw a 70 piece earlier this season. This shit could get to 70, man. I mean, we still got 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They pouring this shit on thick, bro. That's why I got a drink for y'all, man. Yikes. Good grief. Anyway, let's get to the comment section, man. Yikes. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Vincent Coe writes, watch out, Lou. Don't call it a comeback. Bolts up 7-49. Yeah, 63 now, bro. That gazillion is looking more and more like a possibility these days. I'm just glad they didn't get shut out because 63-0 is way worse than 63-7, right? It's only a 7-point difference, but hey, you know you down bad. Is Aidan O'Connell still in the game? Or did they give him the veteran, we just whooped your ass treatment? I guess I got to wait till the Chargers have to punt to see if they still got him in the game, or is it ball cap and earpiece time for Aidan O'Connell? That would be the most embarrassing outcome for the Chargers if Aidan O'Connell went old veteran, I just whooped your ass, midway through the third quarter with the ball cap, earpiece, preseason your ass on the sidelines, kicking. I just saw him on the sidelines kicking, but he didn't have a ball cap or earpiece in. So my assumption is that he's going back in should the Raiders go on offense. No, put Jimmy Garoppolo's ass in the game. That's what I would do. Put old Jimmy in the game. Come on, Easton. Don't run for this first down. He's going to run for the damn first down. Stinking bastard. Anyway, I digress. Vincent Cove, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, is there a chance Pete Carroll is out after this season? Only if Pete Carroll decides he wants to be out. I don't think there's any desire to move on from Pete Carroll. Pete's still doing a great job. You got to understand, though, where the Seahawks are. Remember, we said you were supposed to be rebuilding last year. Remember that? I don't know if you recall that. But you guys were supposed to be rebuilding last year, and you messed around and won 9 games and made it to the playoffs. I mean, Geno Smith was your starting quarterback last year. Like, not Geno Smith this year where, hey, they wrote me, but I ain't right back. Not that Geno Smith, the Geno. Oh, Geno. Oh, no. That Geno was your starter last year. And he proved everybody wrong. And you won 9 games and you made it to the playoffs. So, again, I don't think he is in a position to be fired. The Seahawks are hyper competitive, and they're not out of the mix this year, right? You still got it doesn't look promising. You'll need to do the improbable and beat the Eagles this Monday night if you really want to turn your season around, because you went from 6-3 to 6-7, I believe. Let me check that. I keep saying that. I got to stop saying that because I don't actually know that to be factual. That's just what my brain tells me you've done, but that doesn't mean that's what actually has happened. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a look-see and check to see if that's what actually has happened. You lost to the Niners, you lost to the Cowboys, you lost to the Niners, you lost to the Rams, you lost to the Ravens. Yeah. So and you beat the Commanders. So you were 6-3. And then you were 6-4, 6-5, 6-6, 6-7 now. So my memory serves me correct. And you're not out of it. And let's look at your remaining schedule. Obviously, you got the Seahawks, you got the Eagles, and you got the Titans, Steelers, and Cardinals. You can win your final 3 games. The back end of the NFC stinks. It's just you. The Vikings, I don't even know why the Vikings are around, but they're around. The Packers and the Rams. It's just y'all 4. I mean, yeah, New Orleans or whoever doesn't win that division, Tampa, Atlanta, all those teams they stink. All of them stink. If they've already, just only pay attention to the teams that haven't used up their 2 Carolinas, right? If they haven't used up both of their Carolina Panthers games, then you can count that team as a threat. Because they're going to win that game if they haven't used up both of them. If there are 2 of them left, shit, that's 2 wins, right? But the likelihood is they've probably used up at least 1 at this point. Like the Falcons are going to play Carolina this week. So they're going to win. They're going to get their 7th win. But you'll have a shot. I said all of that to say this. If Pete wants to coach next year, Pete's still your coach next year. I'll just say that. If Pete decides he's done, then he's done. I think he's one of those coaches that he'll get to decide when he's done. And remember, Pete's the oldest coach in the league. I think people forget that. because Pete has such energy on the sidelines. He might just decide, hey man, I'm ready to give this shit up. But he's still coaching with a ton of energy. I just don't see Pete wanting to give it up. I don't think he's done. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Chris writes, hey Lou, hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise. 2 questions. 1, how concerned are you with the Chiefs, especially with their offense at the moment? 2, which team earns the 7th seed in the NFC for the playoffs and why? I'm going to keep my eye. I'm going to keep my eye on the Seahawks. The Rams are interesting. I want to see what they do to Washington this weekend because I was impressed with them over the last 3 weeks or so, specifically the loss to the Ravens. That was impressive. I know they didn't win that game, but they were dangerously close to stealing that game. And the Packers, I think the Packers are young and they might be just a little too young to go to the show yet. But those are the 3 teams that I'm looking at. If you force me to choose one, I would probably go with the Rams. Let me look at the Rams' remaining schedule real quick. Let's just do that because I really don't know what they have left. So they got the Commanders this week. Then they got the Saints, then the Giants, then the Niners. Yeah, give me the Rams. I'd like the Rams. I think they should win their next 3 games, including a team that's vying for that 6 or 7 seed with them in the Saints. The Saints are a mess. I don't think the Saints are any good. They got the Giants, who all of a sudden are in the mix at 5-8. They're not going anywhere but home. So they should win that game. They're going to beat the Commanders. That should get them to 9-7. They might lose to the 49ers, who probably will need that Week 18 game to hold on to the number 1 seed. That's my guess. But who knows? They don't lose any more games. And let's say the Eagles slip up against the Seahawks this week and the Cowboys lose to Buffalo, which I think is going to happen. And they're now 2 games ahead of everybody, even though they're up only 1 game, but they own the tiebreaker. They may not need Week 18. Who knows? I'll take the Rams. I'll take the Rams as one of the 2 final wild cards. I actually think the Rams are going to be the 6th seed. You asked me about the 7th seed. You got to include the Vikings. Boy, they're a mess, though. But they're hanging in there. I think Seattle is still, if Geno's healthy, that's the key, I guess. Geno's health is, I think, going to be key. Give me 3 NFC West teams to make the playoffs. Niners, Rams, Seahawks. Now, the Chiefs, I've been told you that the Chiefs were in trouble. I told you guys prior to the trade deadline, if the Chiefs don't go out and get them a quality veteran wide receiver at the trade deadline, they will not repeat as Super Bowl champions. I'll take it a step further. They may not make it to the AFC Championship game for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. That's what legitimately might happen. Let me see if Davante Adams is still in the game. Why is he still in the game? Here's the question. Up by 49 points. I don't know why he's still in the game. But I don't know if they're chasing a record here or what. But I would assume Aidan O'Connell is still in the game if Davante Adams is still in the game. Again, I don't know why these guys are still in the game. Yeah, Aidan O'Connell is still in the game. Now that I don't really understand. I don't like that. If you truly value your players, you should be getting them out of there right now. But that's just me. The Chiefs are definitely in trouble. That's not even a question for me. The question for me is, can they get back to the AFC Championship? I think that's a no. I think most people, because the Chiefs always find a way and they always figure it out, think, oh, the Chiefs will be fine. No, they won't. We've seen the Chiefs struggle, but we've also seen them have the pieces internally to fix it. 2 years ago, when the Chiefs were struggling and they were getting blown out by teams like the Titans and struggling with teams like Washington, they figured it out, right? But they had the pieces internally to figure the shit out. They still had Tyreek Hill. Yeah, they had Travis Kelce. They just were struggling, but they still had the pieces. Mahomes had to figure out how to check the ball down because teams were starting to play that soft, cover 2 shell over the top, that 2 shell, and they were forcing him to take the check down, and he didn't want to because he hadn't had to do that at that point of his career yet. Once he figured that out, he was fine. The offense came back to life, and they were good. But now, right, they don't have a Juju Smith-Schuster. And there goes Davis. That kid's, he's pretty damn special as a return man. That's his second. Oh, it's a flag, so that's coming back. That would have been his second return for a touchdown this season. If Washington fans remember, I wanted that kid in the draft. The Chargers just went and got him a lot sooner than I thought he was going to get selected. But, yes, they're in trouble. When's the last time you saw the Chiefs at 8-5? Ask yourself that, Chris. Ask yourself, when's the last time the Chiefs were sitting there at 8-5, one game up this late in the season? That tells you all you need to know about the state of the Kansas City Chiefs right now. AfroCat2136, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Monday's video asked our biggest takeaways. I said it's takeaways. Good one. Good one. We don't teach it. We don't execute it correctly, ever. Mind-boggling. I used to get a real trip, AfroCat, out of Turnover Thursdays. Remember that? Remember when they would talk about that? Jack Del Rio would talk about Turnover Thursdays? And I was like, what turnovers? Apple turnovers? You can't be talking about actually forcing turnovers on an NFL football field. You got to be talking about the pastry turnover. Because we damn sure don't get them. I don't know what you're teaching. I don't know how you're teaching it, but I don't see the shit translating to the field on Sundays, Mondays, and some Thursdays. Ever. Yeah, turnovers are a big deal, and we just don't create them for whatever reason. But I've always told you, too, we're just not an aggressive unit. We just don't. Our guys don't hunt the football. You see it with other teams. Guys come in violently with punches and rips, and our guys are just looking to make a tackle. Our guys aren't looking to get the ball out. Ever. It's a good one, AfroCat. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, have we sung it yet, Lou? Yeah, we sung it. We struggled to get through it. I was laughing hysterically, but we got through it. We got through it. We have sung it already. LaRon Caraway, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, LaRon? Cowboys fan here. There's been a murder. Yes, there has. There's a chalk outline right there. I'm looking at it. Damn shame what they did to that dog. When we beat the Bills, can you please stop moving the goalposts, please, and just say we're top 2? If you beat the Bills, I will tell you that you're the second best team in the NFC. Absolutely. I will tell you that. I don't think you're going on the road and beating the Bills. If you beat the Bills, you will get me not once but twice, because I've said that the Bills are going to turn their season around and they will be in the AFC Championship game. And I mean that. They can't get to where they need to go if they lose to you on Sunday. So not only would I be wrong about the Bills, I'd be wrong about Dallas. And look, I think you're good already. Whether you beat the Bills or not, I still think you're a damn good football team and one of the best teams in the conference. What that would just say to me is you need home field advantage like we need air to breathe. And if you don't get it, you're not the same team. That's all that would say to me. That's it. Now, if you went to Buffalo and you got your ass reamed, it'd say something totally different. I don't expect you to go to Buffalo and get your doors blown off. That's not what I see happening. I don't think Buffalo is that kind of team this year. But what I do see is you losing that game and not looking as sharp offensively and not dealing with the elements and not dealing with, you know, Buffalo the way that you deal with teams that you've played this season. And you've struggled on the road. Let's keep it a buck. You're 10-3. All 3 of your losses have come on the road this season. So we'll see. I'm not moving any goalposts. I'm just telling you to prove. I'm just asking you to prove it to me. I can't give you the credit that you want for going and demolishing Carolina on the road. I know you want credit for that. I just can't give you what you're looking for. What I can do is give you credit for beating Buffalo and Miami on the road. And those are your next 2 road opponents. So we'll see what happens. The Black Al B. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Black Al B writes, Vikings have heart, grit, and a top 5 defense. That's how we're still hanging in. Isn't that irony? Isn't that ironic, Black Al B? All those years when your offense was humming with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and teams couldn't stop you and you couldn't stop a damn nosebleed defensively. Now, your offense is struggling. You don't have a quarterback. Justin Jefferson's out of the lineup. He's in the lineup. He's out of the lineup. And now your defense is good again. It reminds me of, it takes me back. Hold on, let me get some tissue from my nose. I'll be back. All right. This is the only part about having kids when they're young that sucks. Is when it's cold season, when it's flu season, their asses are going to get sick. It's inevitable. And you're going to get sick because you have to take care of them. Other than that, everything about having small kids is a joy. Anyway, isn't that ironic? Like Alanis Morissette, don't you think? Isn't that ironic? That all this time, it reminds me of when the season before you got Kirk, right? The defense was really good and the offense was okay. And you just felt like if we could just upgrade the quarterback position ever so slightly, we'll take that next step. We were in the championship game. We just need a quarterback. You go get Kirk Cousins and he elevates the quarterback position. The defense takes a massive step backwards. And you really haven't recovered until this year. And now, of course, wouldn't you know it, now the offense isn't what it was last year. You do have heart. You do have grit and toughness. I love Kevin O'Connell, but it's still crazy that you guys are in the mix. Your schedule has been very kind to you because you've needed to play the teams that you've played this year to be where you are. You've needed to play the NFC South That entire division stinks. Your division isn't all that great. So that gives you a shot. You should have beat the damn Bears. I still don't know how the hell you lost that game. Should have beat the Broncos. But Alexander Madison had other plans. At the end of the day, y'all are hanging in there. I don't know if you're going to have enough gas to get to the finish line. But if somehow you're able to find a Wawa or some gas station, whatever your local gas station is, and fill her up, maybe you'll go. I like Jaron Hall. I know that. I know you've promoted him to number 2, and you demoted Josh Dobbs all the way to 3rd string emergency quarterback. Damn, homie. Just 2 weeks ago, you was the man, homie. The F happened to you. Josh Dobbs is Josh Dobbs. I kept trying to tell people that. This is nice. It's a cute story, but he's Josh Dobbs. They found out the hard way. Anyway. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. All night long. All night. Oh. Cold Birds. Looks like they're not going to get to 70 now. Easton Stick has just thrown another touchdown pass. And they made it respectable, man. 63-21 isn't bad when it was 49-0 at one point. Get to the comment section. Read some of your comments. Remember, if you're out there, hold on, let me get to the right banners here. There we go. If you're out there and you have a comment that you want to have read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have that comment read on the air. If you want to make sure that your comment is read, use the super chat function to do so. All right, let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Steel City says, Lou, do the Chargers really have talent on defense? Bosa never plays. Derwin is good, but Kenneth Murray hasn't been great. Feels like it's just Matt, Thule, Derwin, Asante Samuel Jr. Yes, they do have talent. I talked about that already. They do have talent on defense. And you just named some of the guys that are key cogs in their defense. And Khalil Mack may not be there next year due to cap reasons. And but Thule has shown really well in his rookie season. Derwin James is a talent. Asante Samuel Jr. can play. I like the other corner that they have opposite of him and Michael Davis. I think that they've got some solid pieces defensively. Like if I just told you they got 2 corners, a really good safety, and if Mack is back, you got 2 defensive line guys that are really impactful. That's a good starting base to fill out your entire defense, right? That's a good starting point. Murray has been a disappointment, and like you said, Bosa never plays. So, Steel City says, I also feel bad for Herbert because a lot of the blame gets put on him when they lose, even though they're just not a great football team. Well, but that's, you know what? That's the quarterback position in a nutshell. Is you get all the praise when you win, you get all the blame when you lose. With Herbert, I do see a lot of people not wanting to give him the credit. And I think a lot of that really stems from the inability of this Chargers team to win close games. And a lot of times it's not because of Justin Herbert. You know, they lose to the Lions 41-38 in a shootout. They didn't lose that game because of Justin Herbert. They lost that game because the defense couldn't get a damn stop. Right? But that's not how it's going to be portrayed in the media. Herbert didn't get it done again. You know, and we can go down the list of all of the close losses that they've had, and you can. The first game of the season against the Dolphins was a shootout. Herbert had the ball last. They didn't block for him at all on any of those pass plays at the end of that game. I think he was sacked twice, pressured once. you know, on those last 4 downs, he didn't stand a chance. But he had the ball last, so people are going to say Justin Herbert didn't get it done in the clutch. And you're like, bro, they shouldn't have even been in that position. They scored 33 points, and they lost the game 36-33 or some crap like that. Like, he shouldn't have even been in that position. I saw a staggering stat. Justin Herbert, I don't know where I saw this at. Justin Herbert is like 10-2 in his career when his defense doesn't give up 28 points or more. I mean, I used to complain about, as a Washington fan, if the defense could just not give, if the offense could just score 23 points. Last year, we said this a million times. If the offense could have just scored 23 points, we would have won like 12 or 13 games. Just 23 points. Herbert, on the other hand, is scoring 27 or more most weeks, but his defense is giving up 28 or more. And so if he doesn't score 30, 33, 34, 37, then they can't win. And even then, he scored 38 against the Lions. It still wasn't enough. Scored 30 or 33 against the Dolphins. It still wasn't enough. It is a sad state of affairs. It really is. HTTR Carson says, so my 10-5 record and winning winners and losers last week was one of the best you've ever seen. I didn't say that. I said it was a damn good sheet. I said that had you gotten to 4 losses, it would have been one of the greatest sheets I've ever seen. It was close. Having a 10-5 mark with the bloodbath that was last week was amazing. It wasn't one of the best. It was close. He says, gonna need to win a few weekly pick'ems before this thing ends. If you would have turned that sheet in, you would have won. Keep trying to tell y'all, it costs you $7. Jump in the weekly pick'em. It ain't gonna hurt you. Jump in the weekly pick'em. See if you can win a few bucks on the way out. You would have definitely won. It wouldn't have been. The winner had 7 losses, bro. They wouldn't even been close to you. That was a hell of a sheet that you put in, though, for sure. Niners fan, right? I'm thankful Kyle Shanahan is our head coach. So many guys who just don't get it in this league. And you know what's crazy, Niners fan, is that at one point, you didn't want Kyle gone, but you were complaining about him. You were side-eyeing him, right? It was, I want to say it was last year. You guys started out rough. It was what were you, 2-4? 3-4? You had just got your ass kicked by Atlanta early in the season last year on the road. And I remember after, talking about, the games that week and you jumped on, I think it was that Sunday night game. You were like, I just don't know about Kyle, man. I'm not saying I want him gone, but I don't know about, this whole setup with him and John Lynch. I don't know about Kyle. And I was like, bro, Kyle is the shit. If you don't want, again, a lot of fans don't realize how good they've got it. And I think it took a little while for you to figure it out, but I think you realize now, hey, we got this shit really good, bro. I'm glad you figured it out. Black Al B says, as a Vikes fan who witnessed that defensive masterclass, that's what I'm choosing to call it, I find this hilarious. You're a good man, Lou, for giving a prayer to the Chargers. I try to be. Look, man, I just want to put good vibes out in the atmosphere, good juju, people will think I was trying to be funny. I'm serious. I can identify with Chargers fans. I've been there. I know what this feels like. The Philadelphia Eagles did this exact thing to me on a Monday night. We called it the Monday Night Massacre. I know what this feels like. I've been there. I know what bad ownership feels like. I know what feeling hopeless and helpless as a fan feels like. I know what it feels like to have a damn good quarterback that doesn't get any credit even within the own fan base, and you run him off, and at least Justin Herbert is locked up for the next whatever years, because we ran off Kirk Cousins, even though he was a damn good quarterback, because we were a lousy organization. I know what this shit feels like. So I said a prayer for him. And I hope the football gods answer their prayers and that they're more competitive here in the near future than they have been over, the last decade. Really, since Phillip Rivers retired or left and went to the Colts. Got a super chat. Or a few of them, actually. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, you were supposed to use your singing voice, Lou, shaking my head. I tried. I couldn't stop laughing. And I know what you were talking about. You were talking about all night long. If you want me to use the singing voice, and I knew when I read it, I was like, he probably wanted me to sing this. You got to put the music emojis so I know, okay? I'm not a mind reader, Mike Jink. I know what you were trying to do, but I'm trying to train y'all and get y'all in the habit of putting the music emojis or making it so that I know that you want me to sing it. But I have no issues. All night long. Or I can remix it and I can go with the other all night long, right? The Lionel Richie version, which is probably what you was looking for. All night long, all night, all night long, all night, all night. That's probably what you was looking for. I gave you two. Since you doubled up, I doubled up. We square now. Juan Gotti talking sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, the most backup QBs we've seen play in one season? ? That's a damn good question. You know what? A lot of times as fans, we're prisoners of the moment. So we're going to say, yeah, I can't remember seeing this many backup quarterbacks in one season, but it's really been a war of attrition. Like, we've seen so many veterans go down. Started with Aaron Rodgers in week 1. I mean, hell, Rodgers went down. Burrow's done for the season. Tannehill went down. Excuse me, which was a blessing. Who are we kidding? Like, I didn't even know why they were going with him, to be honest with you, but that's nor here nor there. And then they went, and moved on, and so that was a good thing. Deshaun Watson's done for the season. Daniel Jones is done for the season. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, obviously, and then he just didn't get his spot back, and he doesn't need to get his spot back. Let's see. Mitchell Trubisky is starting right now for Kenny Pickett, who's out for at least another week or two. Gardner Minshew's in for Anthony Richardson, who's out for the season. That's 8 quarterbacks right there that started week 1 that are no longer starting right now. Now, one of them and Kenny Pickett will be back. The other 7 aren't getting their spots back or done for the season. So that's a quarter of the league right there. I don't know if we've seen a quarter of the league down at the same time. And I'm not done yet. Kirk Cousins is done for the season. It's 9. Geno Smith was hurt, and we had Drew Lock this past week, but Geno should be back by Monday night, right? But that's 10. Let's see. Matthew Stafford missed a game. in LA, and they went with Brett Rippon. That's 11. So we go through the entire league. I think I got them all, but I just want to make sure I'm going to go one by one, right? So let's start in the AFC. We start with the AFC East. We talked about the Jets already, so that's one team. And we're just looking for any team that started at backup at any point this season. Jets, 1. No for the Bills. No for the Patriots, 2. No for the Dolphins. No for the Bills. So that's 2. Go to the AFC North. Bengals, Browns, Steelers. That's 5. We go to the AFC South. Titans, Colts. Texans are going to start Davis Mills this week. There's no CJ Stroud hasn't practiced all week. He's in concussion protocol. He's not playing this week. That's 8. AFC West. Raiders, Chargers. That's 10. We haven't even gotten to the NFC yet. NFC side of the bracket. NFC East, Giants, 11. NFC South, Panthers, 12. Falcons, 13. Saints, 14. I don't think that Baker Mayfield has missed a game. So 14. NFC North, Bears, 15. No to the Packers. No to the Lions. Vikings, 16. NFC West. Cardinals, 17. Rams, 18. No to the 49ers. And 19 Seahawks. 19 teams out of the 32 have started a backup quarterback at some point this season. I can't say that that's a record, but it feels like one. And of those 19 teams, probably 8 to 10 of them aren't going to have their starter come back at any point this season. He's done for the year. So you've got permanent backups in. Again, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but it feels like the most backup quarterbacks we've seen in one season. And some of those teams that I mentioned had multiple backups start. Like the Vikings started Jaron Hall in a game. They're going to start Nick Mullins this week. They started Josh Dobbs and they started Kirk Cousins. Like that's 4 guys that are going to start a game for them this season. It's crazy, right? Browns, same thing. Start Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, DTR, and they started PJ Walker. Right? That's crazy. But that's where we at, right? You know, Jets, same thing, right? 3, I think they've got 3 though. Or 2. I don't they started Aaron Rodgers, obviously, then they started Zach Wilson, and then they started Tim Boyle. I don't think they ever started Trevor Siemian. I don't think. Again, you get my drift. It's been bad this season. You might be on to something there, Juan Gotti. I think you might be on to something. Game Bomber 1 TV 2. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I never thought we would see 2 teams score over 60 points in the same season. The NFL gets weirder by the year, LOL. And of all the teams, you didn't think it would be the Raiders of all teams doing it. Not after they just got shut out last week. It didn't score a single point. That's the crazy part. And the week before that, I think they lost to the Chiefs, and they scored 14 points in the first quarter. I don't think they scored another point the rest of the game. If I'm not mistaken, they lost that game 31-14 or something like that. Unbelievable. They could have scored 70 tonight. I don't think it was for a lack of trying, though. I think they tried to score 70 and they just couldn't. Barry Curtis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Barry Curtis writes, hello, Lou. What's up, Barry? Just curious. After watching film and your final grade on Harrison Jr. ends up being a tier above any of the tackles, would you change your stance on who we should draft? Absolutely. If I do the homework and my findings lead me to say, hey, these tackles are good, but doesn't none of these dudes move the needle like Marvin Harrison Jr. could? Absolutely. I would say that. Look, here's the thing, and if you have been watching me long enough, then you should know this. I don't mind being wrong. I'm not going to die on a hill just to say that I was right. That is the antithesis of what I stand for. I told you I can't stand fans of any team, but specifically Washington fans that are within our fan base. The fans I deplore the most. Like, I detest them. I almost don't even want to claim them as family members within the fan base are the ones that would much rather be right and have it be detrimental to the success of the team so that they can say, see, I told you, instead of saying, damn, I was wrong. I'm glad to be wrong. Hell yeah, go get him, right? There's people right now that want Sam Howell to fail so they can say, see, I told you so. We need a new quarterback. Instead of saying, hey, let's just see what the kid does. If he, let's just throw him in the water. If he sinks, we need a new quarterback. If he swims, let's roll, right? Let's roll these boys. But nah, they much rather be right so they can say, see, I told you so, than see this team be successful. That shit bothers me. When I'm wrong, I'll tell you, I was wrong about Cam Curl. I thought that was a wasted draft pick. He ended up being really good. And I admitted that, and I'm not afraid to admit that, and I'm glad I was wrong. I want to be wrong about stuff like that. So you damn right I'll change my stance. If I look at the film and I'm like, none of these dudes have the ability to turn into Trent Williams. None of these dudes have the ability to be Penei Sewell. None of these dudes have all-pro written all over them. I'm good. Look, we could use a Pro Bowl tackle. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to be an all-pro. But if you have a chance to draft an all-pro receiver, you might have to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I have no issues with saying, no. I got this shit all wrong, guys. If Harrison's there, I'm taking Harrison. But here's the thing. We can win with the receivers that we have, and that's been my stance. Is like, this is the only way that I would change my stance is if everybody that I've talked to this point has said, hey, this is one of the deepest tackle drafts we've seen since like I want to say the Jake Matthews draft with him and Taylor Lewan and all of those guys, I think was 2013. I think that was the 2013 draft. Might have been 14, but I think it was 13. If that is in fact the case, and it's one of those type of tackle drafts, and it's deep, and you can find you a guy in the second round, possibly in the third round, and get some quality players, then okay, yeah, I'm willing. And again, what I've said, and I say this before, I say it again, I say it every draft year, you have to be able to tell how great of a difference it is between this tackle and this tackle and that tackle and the next tackle. If there's a negligible difference, then you can wait and take that tackle, that next guy, because it's not that big of a difference. But if you draft, if that tackle is all the way up here and the next tackle is way down here, you got to take that guy up here. Like, we need tackle bad. We need offensive line bad. And you can't go out and get a receiver and then say, oh, no, we can get a tackle in the second round, and then that tackle is ass, and we got Charles Leno all over again, or we got Andrew Wiley all over again. Like, what we don't want is an Evan Neal. because you decided to pass up on Andrew Thomas. Oh, they're one and the same. We're fine. No, Evan Neal isn't Andrew Thomas. No, they're not the same. No, you're not fine. You just effed up. And now your quarterback is paying for it again because you wanted the receiver. I just need to know that we're fortifying the offensive line. That's the most important thing this offseason to me, because I think we already have the quarterback. It isn't getting another receiver. I'd even tell you, before you get another receiver, get a tight end. Get a top shelf tight end before you get another top shelf receiver. I'd even tell you that, but above all else, I just want blue chip players. And if you tell me, hey, these tackles are good, I'm not sure that they're blue chip players. Or, yeah, they're blue chip, but barely. But Harrison is a no doubter. Yeah, I'm going to change my mind. Timothy Santiago, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, 70-20 and 63-14 are crazy, Lou. They didn't get to 21? Felt like they got to 21. Thought they got to 21. Am I tripping? Let me see. I might be tripping. No, they got to 21. But yes, 21-14, shit's all crazy, bro. I'm right there with you. Hopefully the Rams don't do us that dirty. I just want to see our guys have some fight and Sam continues to grow. I'm adamant that you're going to see fight from the team this week, and they're going to be competitive. They're not going to win, but they're not going to lay down. But the last time I prayed for a team, now I was praying out of spite and I was being funny with the Giants. I was being dead ass tonight. And the football guys know where my heart was. It wasn't to be funny. Okay. The Giants, I was being funny. Okay. I was being an asshole. And the football guys knew that. And boy, were they swift. They didn't even make me wait for a little bit of redemption and payback. I was like, you could have just waited and did what you did to me against the Giants, and that could have been enough. He's like, nah, you got to pay for that shit right now. Right now. And I did. That's not what I was doing. That's not what my heart was tonight. And I'll have a conversation with the football guys just to make sure we're clear. Because I don't want to sit down at 4:05 and have what happened to us in week 13 against the Dolphins happen in week 15. So, yeah. I think we should be fine. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, sup, LT, double E. What's going on, Mr. Pink? Can you take a step back and explain how Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is playing so damn good? And does how need these last 4 games? To me, there's a number of reasons why he's playing good. I'll start with one. Kyle Shanahan is a beast. And I've been telling anybody that will listen since he was here in Washington, Kyle Shanahan is the truth. And, dumb Washington fans, oh, he's nepotism. He's only here because of his dad. He's terrible. Shut up. Yo, dumb ass. You don't know shit. And then all Kyle and out, and again, for the second time under the Dan Snyder regime, we fudged a transition that was right in our face. The first one was supposed to be Joe Gibbs transitions over to Greg Williams. That was an easy one. But this one was even easier, right? Mike Shanahan passes it to his son, Kyle, as he rides off into the sunset. We never got there because of the Robert Griffin III, situation, and it just got out of control, and that shit went sideways, and it shouldn't have ever gotten to that point because Dan needed to be a grown-up and make sure that the players, Robert in that case knew, you a player, bro. You don't run nothing around here. The coaches tell you what to do, instead of him being a fanboy and allowing Robert to essentially run shit. which forced the Shanahans to be some assholes and vindictive. And then they got into their petty bag and the shit just went sideways. And I knew what Kyle was going to be. And you saw this, you saw the staff, and we've all heard it a million times about how that staff turned out to be McVay and McDaniel and LaFleur and all those guys. Yeah. I'm tired of hearing that shit. Because it just reminds me of how much talent we had here, and we always let the shit leave the building, always. So, one, Kyle Shanahan is an offensive mastermind. That's one. Two, the 49ers have damn good talent surrounding Brock Purdy. The offensive line is really solid. Obviously, Kittle, McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, hell, even Jawan Jennings. Like, there's talent everywhere, oozing out of every nook and cranny of that offense. Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football. Christian McCaffrey might be the best running back in football. Deebo Samuel is the best receiver or playmaker with the ball in his hands in the league. George Kittle, it might be the best tight end, probably not the best tight end. Wait, he's the best tight end with the ball in his hands in the league. So yeah, it's a lot of good shit they got going on out there. That's number two. And then number three, Brock Purdy can play. He's really good. And you know what helps Brock Purdy? And I think a lot of teams are starting to take a bigger and a second look at this. They want players with experience now. Gone are the days of Mitchell Trubisky with 1 year of starting experience and Dwayne Haskins with 1 year of starting experience that you're going to roll the dice on, unless these guys are like out of this world talented and you just can't pass up on a guy like that. You want guys that have 36 career collegiate starts under their belt or more, right? And Brock Purdy played a lot of football at Iowa State. He saw a lot. He got a lot of experience. So when he got into the NFL, he was ready to go. He was a polished product. And you don't get that with a lot of these young quarterbacks because they don't play a lot. You're seeing a lot of these guys play a lot more now. And I think teams are valuing that a little bit more, seeing guys like Brock Purdy come into the league and have success. And so I think that benefited him. But Brock Purdy is the perfect fit for Shanahan's offense. But he's also just damn good. Like, people don't want to give this guy credit. And you know what? I can't even put my finger on the Brock Purdy hate. I don't even know where it stems from. Sometimes you can sense what it is. I can't even tell you where it comes from. You know? All right. I just know the guy's damn good. I do know that. And does Hal need these last 4 games? Need is a strong word. I want these last 4 games in all caps. I want him to play well. Need would essentially say that the ownership group and the current construction as is isn't quite sure on Sam, and the other GMs around the league might. And again, I think it's ultimately going to be in the hands of the GM anyway. So whether this group and the ownership group believes in him or not, I don't even know if that matters. But I do know that they believe Sam is the right man for the job and that they can win with him and they can build around him. I do know that is a thing. And I do know Eugene Shin is an analytics guy, and he's telling Josh Harris the best way to win in this league and the fastest path to winning is building around a quarterback on a rookie contract, which Sam Howell has for the next 2 years. So that also plays into the strategy of it. But at the end of the day, he's shown enough through 10 games, before these last 3, that he can do it. The last 3 have been brutal, and I think you can probably say that the team's somewhat quit, and you just haven't seen the same effort, and it's affecting his play. But I do think you need to see more from Sam down the stretch. but I don't think he needs the games. I just think you need to see that he can still get it done, because the last 3 weeks, it hasn't been pretty for Sam in particular. I didn't think he played poorly against Dallas. He didn't play well against the Giants. I thought he was solid against the Cowboys, minus the pick six, obviously. And he wasn't very good against the Dolphins. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good. Not nearly good enough against them. So I'd like to see him play a little bit better. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, good to see you as always, Lou. Likewise. Says, had zero interest in this game, but 63 points is wild. Yes, it is. Played MLB The Show instead. I tweeted my results to you on X. I also saw that you switched teams. I didn't know how to respond to that. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to express my feelings in a way that wasn't derogatory. And I was like, that was one of those, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything at all type of situations. You made your decision. It is what it is. But it's just a bit weird to me. That's all. But hey, to each its own, you know? And I'm glad you found it. You saw fit to spend your Thursday night doing something better than watching what we were witnessed in the first half of this game, because it was a shit show. I can't recall a game getting out of control as fast as this one did in recent. I mean, even the Dolphins scoring 70, it didn't start out that way. I mean, it got bad in the second half and it got worse and worse and worse. But I mean, it was 42. The Dolphins game wasn't 42-0 at halftime when they were playing the Broncos. Let me see what the score of that game was at halftime. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, I bet. I'm going to find that game. Let's see. I thought it was week 5. Let's go to week 4. Nope. Got to be week 3. There it is. I lied. No, I didn't lie. It was 35-13 at halftime. Like, it wasn't even 42-0. It's 35-13. This shit really got out of control in the fourth quarter. The Dolphins scored 35 points in the second half, but 21 in the fourth quarter. That's when the shit got out of hand. Like, they put in their backups, and even those guys kept scoring, right? This shit was crazy. It was 42-0 again. Wow. Anyway, I digress. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike Jink writes, check on the Hispanic lady that liked the Chargers. She put back on her Viking stuff. She jumped ship already. She's like, hey, I don't got time for this shit. Hey, honey, where's my Viking shirt? she already then flipped the script and jumped back onto the Vikings bandwagon. She don't got time for this shit. She got an AFC team and an NFC team. Oh, man, that's funny. Anyway, y'all are stupid as hell. I'm out of here. I digress. Y'all get out of here, man. Wow. Chargers, Raiders. Chargers embarrassed themselves 63-21. Raiders dominate this football game after not scoring a single point last week and having not scored a point in 7 quarters. That's the equivalent of not getting any for a long time. And you like, man, I got a big one to let off. And boy, did they ever. All right, I got to get out of here. Pause. I got to get out of here. Y'all have a Y'all get out of here, man. But I say something crazy that I ain't supposed to say out my mouth. Raiders are now 6-8. Chargers fall to 5-9. The real question is, does Brandon Staley survive this? It's 3 games left. Just let him finish out the season. There's no reason to fire him. Just what's it gonna do? Who are you gonna promote? What are you gonna really gain by firing Brandon Staley? Right? Like, just it is what it is. I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll have a Louie T Network podcast for y'all. The likelihood is I'll just have my picks for you guys, and we'll go from there. But in any event, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you don't see me tomorrow for a podcast episode, enjoy your weekend. And remember, you'll see me on Saturday. We got 3 games, triple header on Saturday, so you'll see me. So the schedule on Saturday, just so we're clear, is I will have my first broadcast after the first 2 games have met their conclusion, because there'll be a small, slight gap between the 4:30 game and the 8 o'clock, 8:15 game, whenever that one starts. There'll be a small gap, and I'll be able to slide in, get a game, a breakdown in, and get out. It'll probably bleed into the nightcap, but it won't bleed in there by much. And then I'll be back after the nightcap to kind of, put a bow on everything. But hopefully we'll be able to get 2 broadcasts in. If not, we'll just do one big one at the end, and I'll break down all 3 games, and we'll go about it that way. But the hope is to knock out 2 of the games prior to the last one, and then just have the last one to talk about, and then get to all of your comments to put a bow on the day that was on Saturday. But that's the hope. We'll see what happens in any event. Y'all get out of here. I'll see you guys next time. God bless. Good night. Thursday night ass whooping. Think there's been a murder.